series of a ball tinkering, tinkle, 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 plop. And the guy said, 29 black. So all he said, 29 black. And he said, well, I'll put another $5,000 on red. And again it went tinkle, 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 tinkle. Anyway, it lost. And I'm looking at this, and I'm just thinking to myself, I've just showed you something which is really modern. It comes from a trusted source, and you're showing me, so you've just lost, actually he lost about $20,000 in about 5 minutes that I was there. And he said to me, he looked me in the eye and he said, it doesn't matter what the product looks like, it matters how I get paid. And he said that when I win, I go down to an office in the middle of Taipei, and the agent pays me cash. Now, you can't do that. You can't pay me cash. So that story, it's a true story, and it was an eye-opener for me to understand, or to, as a foreigner, to try and understand the thinking behind what we're talking about today, you know, and the trust factor that you were saying. It's so important that your agent or the person that you're working with, particularly in Macau where there's no visual, it's purely done on a telephone call. And I'm sure you must have seen, or you must have heard some instances where there were questions asked about the validity of a bet.
Payment is definitely the most important thing. That's why agents serve such an important purpose, junket agents. So whether it's online or land-based, I think Macau is a well-known settlement center. And most gamers, VIP especially, they have an account with one of these licensed junket agents, an account. If they win, they lose, they'll get credit immediately. Whenever there's a change in their balance, they receive an SMS immediately. So they see there's money there, and they can go in there, they can retrieve the money immediately, whether it's like 10 million or even 50 million, you can retrieve your cash from the cashier within the VIP room 24 hours a day, and you see an SMS. And if you're not convenient, you can just call up your relative, your agent, to retrieve the money for you. Your registered phone will receive a ring from the cashier, and they ask for your authorization. If you give them the authorization, then you're authorized to allow somebody else to retrieve the money. So that the payment, the settlement is very convenient. That's why I think in the future, just O2O, online, offline, there's within different jurisdictions, I think that's the way of the future.
Do you think, you know, you've heard us all talk about the underlay and side betting here in Macau. Do you think that this happens when proxy betting is made, that there's also the element of the underlay in force?
I think side betting happens because the agents are motivated to do that because they get much higher commission from this. So, but the licensed casinos or VIP clubs, they don't do this, but it's primarily motivated by the agents that will sell it to the customer to do it. But then there's trust issue. So if you win or lose in a real casino or VIP club, you know for sure you're going to get paid. But if you work it out with an agent, you have to really trust the agent. Sometimes they have monthly settlement, and that's why we had a famous guy who ran away before the monthly settlement. So a lot of people got became victims of this guy. So as I said earlier, agents, I don't think they're that trustworthy. So if they have big problems, they'll disappear.
But Matthias, how do you think, as a European software house, how do you think they are going to come to grips with this type of understanding?
Well, we don't really face these things at all, so it's hard. But it's also, this is a lesson for us. if a European ever is going into Asia, these are the things to know about. Otherwise, you can, and that's your story as well, when you're bringing a software, you think it looks great, it's fantastic. It doesn't matter. If it doesn't have the right functions, if you can't gain the trust, it's not even worth trying.
So you're seeing maybe some innovation since you've been here, for example. And you've heard, not just what we're talking about today, but since you've visited this area, are you seeing that some innovations you might take home with you to put into a product for, to help Proxy and to help live streaming?
Definitely, and it's and for us moving forward, is we have a lot of discussion with land-based casinos, with other studios that are interested in us as a pure technology provider, and then we set up a partnership, and so then the innovation after that needs to come together, and a lot of things that already exist but can be done better, as you said, with the squeeze function and these things. You have some other, you can print out the final card, squeeze yourself. It's a lot of things that that exist but can also be done in a better way, actually.
So I guess it's fair to say then that proxy betting has a life moving forward. We don't know if it's going to eventuate in its true form here, because there's probably not an appetite for the casino operators to push the legalities and to get that approval process moving. I think it'll be interesting in the next couple of years exactly how that develops in Macau. And the reason I say that is because the #1 junket operator here is Sun City, as we all know. And Sun City is very forward-thinking in its process, and I think you'd agree, Tony, very forward-thinking in their process of proxy, of online. It's a big, I think you could probably tell us, it's a big part, as I understand, it's a big part of their business, isn't it?
Well, they started, the founders of